Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. Hey, just our analysis of Serval today. Serval is as we can see, lightning and erudition character, and it's also a great time to cover this character as just recently, Honkai Star Rail has hit 5 million pre-registrations. So that means if you're pre-registered right now, and if you play this game on launch, you will get yourself 20 Star Rail passes, which is just 20 rolls, as well as a 4-star character Serval Erudition Lightning for free. So this is a great time to cover the character as she's been announced, I think, yesterday or the day before, as she's now a free character that you can get on the launch of the game. How long will this last? I'm not sure. Maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe a bit of the launch, but you can get the character for free if you play Honkai Star Rail on launch. No sponsorship. I just think that's a great thing because I've read Serval's kit and she's great. Now, Lightning Erudition. What does Erudition mean? Erudition is multi-target DPS. That is great, and let me tell you, I've read her kit, and her kit is pretty nasty. It's pretty good in terms of just general AoE damage, but let's get into it. So single target ability, her basic attack is just single target, move on. But her skill is where it gets a bit hectic. Deal lightning damage equal to a certain percentage of Serval's attack to a single enemy, and lightning damage equal to a certain percentage of Serval's attack to adjacent enemies, with an 80% base chance to for enemies to become shocked for 2 turns, and then shock is just a little dot that happens at the start of each turn, based on a certain percentage of Serval's attack lightning damage. Really good, just a splash damage ability. You hit the single target, 2 enemies on the side get splash damage. It's fine, it's great, it's enhanced later on. So let's move on to the ultimate. You deal lightning damage equal to a certain percentage of Serval's attack to all enemies, and then enemies already shocked will have their shock duration extended by 2 turns. Which is, well, that's fine really. You apply shock with your skill, you extend it with your burst. It's great. It's a nice synergistic combo. I think, maybe a small chance or a base chance to shock on her actual burst would have been probably like the part that makes her super strong. If it had like, 80% chance, 60% chance to actually shock as well. But regardless, it's a shock extension. Talon, though, is where I think she'll have a pretty good time at getting pretty crazy in conjunction with the Eidolons as well. So her Talon, after Serval attacks, deal additional lightning damage to a certain percentage equal of Serval's attack to all shocked enemies. So you shock enemies, and then once you hit them again, they'll all take an additional hit of damage on top of the already bit of damage that they are taking, which, in my opinion, really good. It's a lot of, how do I say it? It's like a dot. It's kind of like a corruption warlock in World of Warcraft. You apply dots to everything, and then you can just attack one target, and everyone else will take a percentage of damage that you deal to that one target, while also taking the dot damage, which it's a pretty niche gameplay, but it works sometimes. It really just does work because, well, the percentages aren't terrible, right? 66 just for a bit, just for randomly being applied with shock. It's pretty good. But let's move on. The technique immediately attacks the enemy, deal lightning damage to a certain percentage of attack, and then all enemies have a base chance of being shocked. Weirdly enough, this might be one that you actually, like, if you're playing a Serval build, and if you're building your whole team around just Serval, you may want to do this technique. You open up with one of the other ones, like Sampo or whatever, the ones that have like a pre thing where you apply the debuff to the enemy, and then you engage with a Serval's technique, because, well, having a base chance to shock the enemies at the very start of the fight, that means that you can get straight into doing her whole kind of opener, which, you may just start with a basic attack to trigger everything, and then, continue applying shock, extending shock, whatever you can do. I think it's just the chances of this being a good kind of build if you are just a Serval player is pretty high. So that so far has been pretty great. Trace number 1, Serval's skill has a 20% increase base chance to shock enemies, which increases the 80 to a solid 100% base chance. It should be noted, though, that this base chance is altered by effect hit resistance, as well as effect hit rate that you can buff yourself with. So be wary of that if the enemy does happen to have effect hit resistance, that this is just probably going to alter. Even if you have it 100%, it's going to alter down to like 90 something, whatever. So maybe building some percentages of effect hit rate is going to be pretty good. Trace 2, Serval immediately regenerates 15 energy at the beginning of battle. It's kind of nice and handy energy regeneration. And then last one, upon defeating an enemy, Serval's attack increases by 20%. Again, obviously because she's erudition, we have to understand that she's not there for single target damage, she's there for group damage. And obviously, when you're doing group things, you're expected to be killing a lot of enemies a lot of times, and a lot of groups of enemies. There's just waves and waves and waves and waves of enemies. So this is pretty good, having just an attack increase when you kill an enemy, because that's kind of what you're expected to do with this character, is just kill large groups of enemies and it'd be okay. Now, the character baseline sounds pretty good in my opinion. I think they have a very high potential of being a specific slot, and so far I would say the second best or the best erudition character that we've encountered. I think it's kind of like a dot, not a dot build, sorry. It's a damage build with the dots as like a massive bonus on the side, as you can force trigger them essentially with the talent. You can force trigger your shocked kind of debuff on the enemies. It doesn't actually use the shock debuff or the shock status, but it acts like it does trigger it though, which is really nice. So far so good. Eidolons obviously enhance the character. So Eidolon 1, Serval's basic attack deals lightning damage equal to a certain percentage of a basic attack to a random enemy, random enemy adjacent to the basic attack target. Only triggers to the basic attack, but when you hit an enemy with the basic attack, it'll deal a certain amount of damage to a random enemy adjacent. It's a single enemy, but it's a nice bit of splash damage added to her basic attack, which is, well, that's not bad, right? A splash damage is never bad. Eidolon 2, though, every time her talent is triggered to deal additional damage, Serval regenerates 4 energy. Now, this is the one that I really enjoyed reading, and I thought was really good, is that whenever you trigger this forced kind of like trigger of damage on a shocked enemy, you regenerate 4 energy, right? Now, this is fine, right? If you hit an enemy just with your skill, or rather just with your basic attack, that's fine. You get 4 energy. Or maybe you'll get 8 energy, depending on if like it triggers on the extra attack, right? Because obviously the talent happens after Serval attacks deal additional damage to all shocked enemies. So if it does it per enemy, then there's a really high chance that this could be good. But I don't believe that it's going to be per enemy, just because, well, it's just the wording, right? Every time her talent is triggered. And I think because it says to all shocked enemies, not individually each shocked enemy experiences damage or whatever, this is just going to be like a pulse thing, and it only happens once, which is unfortunate, but we can still kind of hope, but I probably wouldn't actually, because it is what it is. It would be maybe a bit broken if you could regenerate. How much is that? What, 12 to 16 energy per attack, plus the actual amount that you get from attacking? It may be a bit broken, but whatever. You just get a bit of energy when you trigger her talent. Eidolon 3, skill +2, as well as basic attack +1, quite standard. Eidolon 4, Serval's ultimate has a 100% base chance to apply shock to any enemies not currently shocked. This shock has the same effect as the one applied by her skill. Yeah, essentially does what I said about at the start. It makes her ultimate actually apply shock. 100% base chance, which is fine, altered by effect hit resistance, which is also fine. And yeah, it's just quite handy. Honestly, shock extension on the natural as well as shock application at Eidolon 4. I think Eidolon 4 is going to be a pretty good standard for the character as well. You're going to want to be able to apply shock with her whole kit, to be honest. Eidolon 5, ultimate +2 as well as basic attack +1. And then Eidolon 6, when Serval's energy is 50% or higher, her basic attack and skill damage increases by 20%. It's kind of like not super useful, because obviously you have to be at 50% or higher. But here's the thing. I think in the end and in the long run, just from my ideas in my brain, Serval Ultimate is going to be a bit more as a shock extension, as well as, or maybe an early shock application kind of ability. I don't think you're going to be using it to just apply shock to one enemy. If you use it midway through, probably not. You're going to use it probably on cooldown, or when enemies are just very low on shock stacks, right? If enemies are on their last shock thing, you just chuck it out, hoping that it'll apply it and be on your merry way, or that it'll extend it, right? Because obviously it does extend it. So I don't think you're going to be using this as like a damage thing, because the damage, I will say, is not incredible. 194%. I think it's going to be there for the shock extension. So that's that. That is Serval with all of the things, and I'll be honest, I think it is probably going to be my more preferred erudition character, at least out of the 4-star variants. At least my more preferred character for that. Just because it sounds all great, all good. I don't see anything really wrong. No kind of weirdness, no discrepancies, no kind of outliers. So it all just seems like it works synergistically and will work well. So light cones as well is one that we have to take into consideration, though. The 3 stars, the data bank is the only good one. Ultimate damage increase. The other one is just energy regen. So that's that. 4 stars. Obviously, you want to use Serval's signature, which is make the world clamor. The wearer regenerates a certain amount of energy upon starting battle, and then increases your ultimate damage further percentages. Right? It's fine. It's good. It works. Would I use it over the other ones? Well, I would probably try to take in Today's Another Peaceful Day. I think this one has a high chance of being extremely good. So after entering battle, increase the wearer's damage based on their max energy. Damage increases by a certain percentage per point of energy up to 160. The reason I'd say this one is because it's universal damage increase. Serval's signature is just ultimate increase as well as just a massive amount of energy recharge at the start of the fight. So you'll get a chunk of it. So you'll probably always be able to use your ultimate maybe. But Today's Another Peaceful Day is just a static amount of damage increase per point of energy that you have. Now, if Serval has 160 energy, I'm not sure. I wish there was a way to check. Yeah, but I'm not sure. But I wish there was a check. But regardless, it's still going to probably be really good in terms of general damage use. The other two, Birth of the Self is probably not a great one because it has the extra follow-up attack stuff. And Serval doesn't have any follow-up attack, so I'd try to avoid using this one. And then the series of Breakfast is increase the wearer's damage for every defeated enemy, increase it further. This one is a fine substitute. It's not going to be a static amount that you get. You have to be killing enemies to get the damage bonus. So be wary of that. You have to kill them first, so it's kind of like a build-up mechanic. Essentially, Today's Another Peaceful Day is going to be her best for damage, but the Make the World Climber will be the best for her universally because it's her signature. 5-star wise, we've got two of them. Before Dawn, Night of the Milky Way. So Before Dawn, we've talked about this one a few times now. Increase the wearer's crit damage, which is an incredible thing to have on a DPS character. So obviously, just naturally, Before Dawn is going to be like your best choice just because 32% crit damage is incredible, just baseline. Then increases the wearer's skill and ultimate damage further by certain percentages, and after the wearer uses their skill and so on and so forth, it increases your follow-up attack damage. Now, obviously you don't get this last part, follow-up attack damage, because you don't have follow-up attacks, but these first two static numbers are, like, incredible. Just imagining the fact that you can get this up to 5-star or 5 refinements, getting that 64% crit damage just flat out, and 40% ultimate and skill damage flat out. It just probably is going to make the character pretty busted, but even baseline 32 and 20 is pretty good. So if you have 5 stars and you want to make Serval really good, Before Dawn is probably your best choice. Night of the Milky Way, again, is a very, very specific scenario kind of situation. For every enemy on the field, increase the wearer's attack up to 5 times, and then so on and so forth. After a weakness break, the wearer's damage increases by a certain percentage for 1 turn. The enemies have to be on the field and have to be alive on the field. So it's a bit more of like you start off extremely powerful, but then as enemies like die, you become weaker and weaker. So I can't recommend this one wholeheartedly. I'd recommend this one probably obviously for once we get to Himiko because it's her one. But there's something about this one that kind of just doesn't really rustle my Jimmy. That's kind of how I base a lot of these things. I just look at which one rustles my Jimmy, and the Night of the Milky Way isn't rustling any kind of Jimmy right now. So Before Dawn is going to be your best in slot for if you want to make Serval the god tier character that she is, obviously. But if you're looking for just a good one, go for the Make the World Climber. It's going to be easy, and it's going to work with her kit, with all the stuff that it provides. So that's been that. Hope you guys enjoyed. I was about to end the video. I was getting ready to end the video. We haven't even covered relic sets. Jesus Christ. Relic sets is the next one. It's honestly not even a difficult one, though. Band of the Sizzling Thunder, the lightning damage one. Lightning damage plus 10% on 2 set, and then increase the wearer's attack by 25% after a skill usage for 1 turn is the 4 set. It's quite standard, as well as the planetary ornament is this one I'm going to actually recommend Inert, not Inert, sorry, Celestial Differentiator. Celestial Differentiator because, well, it's a DPS character, basic attack and skill damage, and also crit rate boosting. That one is probably going to be one of the better ones for you, or the Space Sealing Station. Inert Salsodo, I would recommend if the follow-up attack was replaced with something else, but because there is follow-up attack, you're losing a bit of value there. So Celestial Differentiator or Space Sealing Station are the only two, and then combo that with the Band of Sizzling Thunder, and you'll have a great time. Now I can end the video, because that's what you'll be running with her in terms of relic sets. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully that was helpful. Serval is for free, remember. You get it for free if you play the game on launch. Go pre-register. I think there's more rewards to be had. Let me check here, actually. Is there more rewards? How do we check? Nope, that's the final reward. Oh, rather, she was free for a while. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. That's what you get for if you play the game on launch. So play the game on launch if you want this stuff. If you don't want this stuff, don't play the game, I guess. That's been that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next HSR analysis. Peace out.